This is Julima, Wellness Consultant. This is Julima Wellness Consultancy from Mulera in Theta in Juja in Kiambu in Kenya. Kenya is in East Africa, which is Africa, and still again, we will go deeply to catatonic type of schizophrenia. Persons with catatonic type schizophrenia exhibits many of the basic features mentioned previously. However, it is the abnormal and striking physical movement or lack of physical movement that distinctly sets this category apart from the other four subtypes of schizophrenia. More than likely, the practitioner will easily recognize psychomotor disturbances. They alternate between the extremes of excitement and stupor. Because of this, the person with catatonic subtype may require medical supervision in order to prevent hurting themselves or others. They may be unable to eat or drink on their own, and even the process of normal body eliminations may require monitoring. In addition, these individuals may experience complications from untreated malnutrition, dehydrations, electrolyte disturbances, or exhaustions. At times, the person's physical motor activity may appear to look speeded up, but the most typical catatonic behavior is described as being a slow, retarded, or a stupor-like state. The amount of activity and seemingly driven quality generally ranges between the extremes of agitation, as in an excited catatonic state, to a withdrawn and inactive state usually associated with catatonic stupor. Several characteristics usually dominate an individual's behavior. They may, for example, adopt and maintain rigid postures for hours at a time, assume bizarre positions, exhibit stupor-like state, and or become mute. The most common occurrence. The person is seemingly oblivious to the external world, and he or she may resist being moved by others. Another pattern is to rapidly alternate between excitement and immobility. The bearing of manner of the person with catatonic type schizophrenia is often described as artificial and stilted. They will spontaneously pose or display bizarre, inappropriate silliness and odd mannerism, for example, using their face to create facial grimacing or silly faces. These strange postures can be held for very long periods of time, akin to a wax statues frozen in a fixed positions. This is referred to as catatonic posturing. Someone else may try to manipulate or move the individual's semi-stiff or wax-like limbs, but once moved, the limbs can then remain fixed for hours or days. This is referred to as waxy flexibility. Disturbances for reasons include negativism, which is characterized by an almost mulish refusal to follow any course of actions suggested or expected. In some cases, this negativism is passive. For example, if food is served to the person and they do not eat it. Another example may be if someone asks a question, the person does not answer. At other times, the person's negativism becomes active. For example, they maintain rigid posturing despite attempts to move them. Sometimes the person exhibits a tendency to repeat or mimic spoken ones of others. This is known as echolalia. For example, if the person is asked a question, they will repeat it over and over, sometimes for an hour or more. Echopraxia occurs when the persons with catatonic type schizophrenia mimics the physical gestures and movements of others. For example, in a mirror-like pantomime. This behavior may continue long after the other person has left the room. Echolalia is echopraxia are seen as involuntary and meaningless repetitions of others' words and or actions. Certain mannerisms often have a special meaning to the individuals that is connected to delusions or hallucinations. Seemingly, purposeless repetitive movements or verbalizations are seen in a variety of conditions. For example, a person folds a piece of paper along the same creases until it disintegrates. Their movements are referred to as stereotyped behaviors or stereotypy. They commonly involve the entire body, and the person may, for example, rock or sway. This movement generally represents some special significance, but it is generally not discernible to others and seems purposeless in nature. When asked, why are you folding this piece of paper over and over again? They offer no reason. Involuntarily, repetition of task, such as repeating an answer to a question until the individual is asked to stop, is referred to as perseveration. The use of perseveration does not include using standard filler answers as you know, like, or I mean. Catatonic type schizophrenia should include at least two of the following features: stupor or motor immobility, or a sudden and transient episodes of paralysis with no loss of consciousness and affecting nearly all voluntary muscles or works flexibility. Hyperactivity that is not influenced by external stimuli. Mutism, deficit of communication through speech or interactions with others, or marked negativism. Peculiar or odd behaviors evidenced and posturing stereotype or mannerisms. The following case figures describe the important features of catatonic type schizophrenia. The case discussion include other conditions that may complicate making an accurate assessment. As you read about Joeston, it is helpful to differentiate among features of catatonic type schizophrenia from a general medical condition.